I went to the fine arts, graduated from the fine arts in painting in 2001. And actually the funny thing is that I wanted to go to law school. I didn't really want to go to the fine arts, but my father thought that, you know, I always made drawings and mock-ups and little sculptures at home. So he thought I should go to the fine arts. Education wasn't that great. Basically, you're just left to your own devices. Right after I finished, I left to Italy to work as an intern in a design studio in Milano. Stayed there for months, did not like it either. Came back here and decided, well, I'm just going to try this and, you know, make a painting show. And that was the very first show at Mashrabiyya Gallery in 2002 called Pixel Series. It went very well. I was very surprised. It was a successful show, and I thought, okay, well, maybe this is what I should be doing with my life. I was not always living in Egypt. Half of my life, basically, I spent abroad. When I came back here, at that time, the first thing that hit me are all the constraints that I had to put on my body. And that was the start of the work on the body and movement and constraint movement. And it started with like a series of hypotheses, which then culminated into Grey Matter, the second painting show. The whole idea was that you're restrained, but you look like you're moving freely, but you're basically just moving in a preset trajectory. I thought, okay, I'm talking a lot about the body and the movement, and I'm not actually putting myself, you know, as an adult through an experience that would challenge my body, and and then came the idea of 48 ballet classes and all the conceptual documentaries where I would film myself, you know, doing these types of extreme performances. Well, the idea, firstly, was that I would want to film this process of becoming an ideal body that looks like the ideal of ballet. Basically, it's something that's very inhumane. All the movements of ballet are basically against the norm of the body, of the human body. The whole idea of awkward movement, the vulnerability of the body and how romantic it could be and all of that, which stayed with me, which is actually still something that I worked with in, all through everything else until the sequences, came through the discovery of what really happened to my body in the ballet classes. After these series of documentaries, like with ballet and contemporary dance and synchronized swimming, I attempted a real documentary. That's when I made Chinese Sweet, Chinese Pretty, the video. And then after that, I had a major block for a year. I did not want to go back to either this or that. And also I did not think I could start painting again. So I started drawing. In the beginning, I was using bones that were mostly responsible for movement. And then eventually I started going for bones that really looked, whose forms I really liked. Mostly. And when you look through Grey's Anatomy, you'll find that the best looking bones are actually in the skull. They have amazing forms, and basically this is what I still work with. So there are a lot of broad interests always on the side, mostly relating to macabre literature, forms of dementia, actual accounts of hysteria from patients, mostly how hysteria and dementia was documented in the 19th century. So these are things that interest me a lot, and that kind of inform also the drawings, how they look, the layering in it, the kind of figure that I use. I was talking a lot about movement, so I needed to work with movement. So I needed a medium that allowed me time, basically. And I always try to be in a place between actual choreographed movements, as in dance, and daily gestures. So yeah, it's just, they're very abstract movements.
It's a girl who is very attracted to her father physically, sexually, and the story starts with her deciding that she's going to commit suicide because it's completely wrong how she is, and the fact that she can't get over him and that she wants to be with him. And then her nanny or her maid sees her while she's attempting to commit suicide, and she tells her, "No, I'm going to help you," and that's where the story begins. It wasn't a direct choreography of the story itself. I wasn't, like, while I was performing, in a way, yeah, I was performing Mira, but I was performing an interpretation through movement of what Mira would have felt, or how Mira would have acted, how her body would have been during that situation in the story.
The stories for the sequences, but also for the previous work, they're all like love stories, but like very destructive, unrequited love that eventually leads to death, with Ovid by metamorphosis.
What difference does it make if a person morphs into a handful of centipedes?
It's the murder operated by
What does it matter if by one man's hand
there's
nothing changes into a fly or a blade of grass?
In the case of my text, the one I performed in, it was a text that was basically justifying crime and justifying murder. But it was written in this very poetic way. Yeah. It was extremely poetic, so it was very interesting to work with that. I started off being nature, basically, and legitimizing crime and saying how this is what nature desires, this is what nature wants for people to commit crime, and this is how it kind of preserves. You are as a soul unto my pleasures.
You are as a soul unto my pleasures. You alone can satisfy them. The more you multiply your crimes, the more the thought of you agitates all of me. So it's actually very sensual text as well.